Thanksgiving Day, guys. This is probably my favorite NFL slate of the year. Only 3 games, but it's always a fun one. If you guys are new, welcome. My name is DK, and we'll be talking about the Thanksgiving NFL DFS slate. I also make videos for NBA Daily Fantasy Sports as well as Prize Picks. Prize Picks, they are the sponsor of the video. If you're not familiar with Prize Picks, they are a player prop site. They also have a nice little promotion here. Justin Jefferson, you're getting him 99% off. All you need is for him to go over 0.5 receiving yards, and that does hit. But how it works is you pick 2, 3, 4, up to 5 player, or up to 6 player props now, I should say, up to 6 player props, and you can win up to 25x your money. So it used to be 5 and 10x your money, but now you can win, if you hit all 6, you can win up to 25x your money. All the sports are listed up top. A lot of different sports. They have World Cup. They have college sports, NFL, esports. So you can mix and match as well. So you can have a couple from NFL, a couple from NBA. You can throw some World Cup in there if you want to. But yeah, guys, a lot of fun. If you guys want to give it a try, make sure to use the code DKDFS. That'll give you a 100% match up to $100. So basically, you deposit using my code. That's a free $100 to play with on the site. So yeah, give it a try if you're a first-time user. And if you guys are looking for premium content, you can check out my Patreon. I offer a lot of different packages. I do offer a Prize Picks package as well as multiple DFS packages. Okay, so before we get into the team-by-team breakdown, let's take a look at the Vegas odds for these games. So first game up is Buffalo versus my Detroit Lions, who are on a 3-game winning streak. I'm not buying into that yet. I am not buying into the Lions hype, but the Lions have looked better of late, and this is by far, if you look at the Vegas total, the most attractive game to target. It's a 54 over under. The Eagles are 9-point favorites. We have the Giants and Cowboys of 44.5 over under. The Cowboys are 9-point favorites, and Patriots, Vikings 42 over under. The Vikings are 3-point favorites. We'll go team by team, guys. Talk about the players I like, talk about players I think are viable in cash games and tournaments. And yeah, let's just get right into it. So first game, as I said, Buffalo-Detroit is going to be the most popular game, most likely. Quarterback, Josh Allen, probably going to be your cash game quarterback, just because his very high floor, high ceiling. Last game, don't put too much weight into that. He has been dealing with a bit of, that elbow injury, which does worry me a little bit. But yeah, Josh Allen, I think, is probably your cash game play. A guy that is a very high ceiling playing in the dome against this Lions defense. He's going to be popular, but for good reason. He looks good in both formats. Now, running back, a guy that I've been high on all year and usually doesn't pick up too much ownership, is Devin Singletary. And even with the addition of Nyheim Hines, really hasn't affected his workload too much. He's still in that 70-75% of the snap range. He went for 18 carries and 2 catches and 2 targets last week. I think he's a solid option in the mid-range. He is a bit involved in the pass game. He's part of this Bills offense, which is very valuable, obviously. So I do like Devin Singletary. I will mention James Cook did see 11 carries last week, and he looked good with those carries. So if you wanted a complete dart throw in tournaments, you could look to James Cook, who is actually ahead of Nyheim Hines on the depth chart right now, as far as just getting snaps offensively. And Nyheim Hines mainly playing more on special teams. And if this game does get out of hand late, like maybe in the fourth quarter, you could see Buffalo really ground and pound James Cook. So it's a tournament play. I think he's viable. And then, yeah, Hines, again, really not involved at all offensively, which I thought was surprising. Other than them trading for Hines, you would think, like, oh, they're going to utilize him a lot in the passing game. Just hasn't been the case. Wide receivers, so Buffalo wide receivers, very easy to talk about. Stephon Diggs is going to be very popular, but great play in both formats. Again, kind of had an off game last game. Doesn't worry me too much. The floor is pretty high with him. Buffalo's a pass first team. The ceiling's obviously massive in a game environment like this. So Stephon Diggs, really like him in both formats. Again, he's going to be popular, but I think it's for good reason. And Gabe Davis, for some reason, the price point went down $1,000. He's been in that mid 6K range. Now he's only 5.3K. Last 4 games, 7, 5, 10, 7 targets. He's basically playing the entire game. I think he's also going to be extremely popular play, but again, for a good reason. And then if you want the slot receiver, it's going to be Isaiah McKenzie. His snaps can kind of fluctuate. More often than not, he's probably playing around 50% of the snaps. Didn't do anything last week, but I think is a fine salary relief play. Wide receiver 4, probably going to be Shakir, but again, more of just a dart throw. At tight end, so Dawson Knox finally had a really, I guess his That's his best game so far. Yeah, best game so far, 7 catches on 7 targets. More often than not, you're probably getting around 2 to 4 catches on like 5, 6 targets from Dawson Knox. But yeah, I think he's a decent punt play at the tight end position. Again, you do have Josh Allen as his quarterback. And again, I mentioned like playing in the dome, this is by far the best game environment of the 3. I know Dallas is playing in the dome, but not as high of a total, about 10 points lower. So no surprise, I'm very high on basically everyone in Buffalo. And I think most of the field is too. But yeah, Buffalo Bills look great. Definitely going to be my favorite team to target on this slate. Let's move on to the Lions. 5.2K Jared Goff. Nothing more than just a contrarian dart throw in tournaments. Like I said, it's a high total game. So you want to look to Jared Goff at very low ownership, you can. But again, just a tournament play really for me. At running back, so I'm kind of off Jamal Williams. I know 3 touchdowns, but Lions been utilizing 3 backs. Maybe Swift plays a little bit more. The Swift workload has been frustrating. Jamal Williams is more the early down bruiser. So he's going to be the guy that if you think the Lions are playing from ahead in this game, then you want to look to him. With them being 9-point underdogs, I think he gets phased out a little bit. I think maybe some more unexperienced players kind of look at the game logs and see, 20 plus fantasy points in 2 last 4 games. Let me play Jamal Williams. I'm a little bit more hesitant here. I think the Lions are going to be playing from behind. I don't think Jamal Williams is going to, average 3 touchdowns a game. So I'm more on the Jamal Williams fade route. Again, Swift, workload just really hasn't been there. It's been frustrating. It's hard to get to him. You even seen a few snaps for a guy like Justin Jackson. He had 9 carries last week. It's right now it's a 3-headed monster, and it's hard to feel good about anyone with this game environment. Now, if the Lions were big favorites, then I'd have more interest in Jamal Williams, but hard for me to prioritize him. Wide receivers, so this is a bit tilting. DJ Chark, first game back, only played 11 snaps. It's like, why are you going to activate him if you're just not going to play the man? But you saw Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and Cleve Raymond basically play the entire game. I do like St. Brown a good amount. He's their go-to guy. He's averaging close to double-digit targets a game. I think he looks like a really, really good play in the mid-range. Reynolds, he's been out last couple games. He was a non-participant. Don't expect him to play. If they're going to continue to limit DJ Chark, then Cleve Raymond, 4-1, will be the other wide receiver. He had 7 targets last week. I think he's fine. I don't think we'll get clarity on this, but if you think Chark plays a lot more, you can look to him at 3.8K. Again, he played 11 snaps. That was frustrating. Nothing else I can really get to, though, with Lions wide receivers. At the tight end position, they're not really utilizing these guys. If I had to pick one, I guess it would be Brock Wright, who's averaging a little over a target a game, but it's pretty gross there. All right, so let's move on to the Giants and the Cowboys. Daniel Jones, 5.5. I actually don't mind him as a cheap quarterback play. I would say he's probably my favorite cheap quarterback play. I know the Dallas defense has been solid, but playing indoors, he does have some rushing upside. 107, 20, 24, and 50 yards in the ground in the last 4 games. I don't mind him as a cheap quarterback play. Running back Saquon Barkley was awful as chalk last slate in a great matchup. Was very, very surprising. Now he gets a little bit of a tougher spot here against the Cowboys. They haven't been as good against the rush, better against the pass, but still. Saquon, it'll be interesting to see what the ownership is on him, because I feel like it's not going to be that popular with the Buffalo Bills on the slate, and with the fact that he was very bad last game, but I don't mind him as a contrarian play because he's going to get a majority of the work. It was tilting you played him last week. Pat Breida vultured a touchdown, but most of the time you're getting a hefty workload for Saquon Barkley, and he is involved in the passing game as well. So I kind of like him as a bounce back candidate here. Wide receiver position, I have Wandell on my fantasy team. Looks like he's going to be out for the season. I had both him and Sterling Shepard, both out for the year. Super frustrating. Richie James operated out of the slot when Wandell went down, but he's also injured. So maybe Kenny Golladay finally has a good game, but Darius Slayton is really the wide receiver I feel best about. He had 10 targets last week. He's $5,000, which is not super cheap, but double-digit fantasy points in the last 4 games. Yeah, he's really the guy I like the best. Kenny Golladay, snaps haven't been great on him, but you would think that goes up a little bit. Fine as a dart thrower at 3.7, and he's been really, really bad. If Richie James plays, I like him because he'll be playing out of the slot. If he misses, I really don't know what they're going to do with that slot wide receiver. They can move some stuff around. Maybe they activate David Sills, utilize him in the slot. If Hodge, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do here, so Yeah, if Richie James plays, I do like him for value. If he misses, not sure who that wide receiver 3 will be for the Giants. All right, moving on to Dallas. So Dak Prescott, 6'2". Solid option in the mid-range. Kind of just like indifferent on him. Not like I don't love Dak, but I don't hate him. Fair, not a bad spot for him. So he's fine. Running back position. So Zeke Elliott was limited in his first game back. Both running backs smash, especially Pollard. Maybe the Cowboys can see when you give him full workload, he's clearly the better running back. It's been the case for the last like 2-3 years, but I mean, it's a short week, so we'll keep an eye on news. If we get news that Zeke is once again going to be limited, then I do like Pollard. If we get news that Zeke's back to normal workload, then I'd say both running backs are tournament-only plays. Both absolutely smashed, but we can't expect those two running backs to go for like 5 touchdowns or whatever. I think, Pollard had 2 touchdowns, right? And Zeke had 2 or 3 touchdowns. Like, they scored all the touchdowns. Yeah, they had 4 touchdowns combined. We can't expect that again. So if Zeke's healthy and back to normal workload, both are tournament plays. If Zeke's once again limited, then I do like Pollard. Wide receiver, so CeeDee Lamb was disappointing as chalk, but that game just got way out of hand. Dallas didn't really need to throw the ball. So another guy I do like as a bounce back candidate here. It's been their clear go-to guy wide receiver. So do like CeeDee at 7-1. The other wide receivers are kind of just there. Michael Gallup, Noah Brown. They're still getting a good amount of snaps, but ceiling really hasn't been there for them. So they're both just like secondary filler options for me. If you needed like someone really cheap, they're fine. They're fine. Again, I'm not going to prioritize. I'm not going to go like build my lineup and say, oh, I need to start it with Michael Gallup. No. As the last piece in, sure. Tight end, I do like Dalton Schultz. Again, Dallas didn't really have to throw the ball a ton, so I don't put too much emphasis into last game because literally the running backs did everything. But with Dak back, Dalton Schultz has been much more productive. 3.8K. I do like him on the cheap end. Probably one of my favorite cheap tight ends on this 3-game slate. And finally, New England and Minnesota. So Mac Jones, 5-1. Probably prefer other cheap quarterbacks. Running back, I do kind of like Stevenson. He's still splitting snaps with Damian Harris, but he's very clearly their pass catcher. If you look at the targets of the last 4 games, 8, 7, 7, 6 targets. A couple of these games have been with Damian Harris playing, so I do like him in the mid-range. Damian Harris, more of just a tournament-only play because he's not as involved in the passing game, not getting as many carries, so he's relatively touchdown dependent at this price point. So do like Stevenson, prefer him to Damian Harris. Wide receiver, Jacoby Myers, I like. In a game New England should be playing from behind. They are, 3-point dogs. I actually thought I thought Minnesota would be favored by more, but maybe because Minnesota lost by like 50 last week, that's why. But yeah, Myers playing close to 100% snaps. He's the guy that just has had the highest floor, highest ceiling. So I do like him at this price point. The other wide receivers, you saw Thornton snaps go way down. So that was disappointing for the rookie wide receiver. Devontae Parker was limited in his first game back. He had 2 catches on 2 targets. He's playable. Nelson Aguilar did see a lot of snaps, or like 37 of the 63 snaps, but these other wide receivers, they're really just dart throws. It's Myers, the guy that I feel the best about. Anyone else, if you target them, it's kind of like fingers crossed. Hopefully they don't kill you. Tight end, Hunter Henry. He's cheap. He's been their better pass catcher of the 2 tight ends, but Smith has been a bit involved of late as well. I don't love either Patriots tight end, but they're not out of play. They're cheap. They're fine. Right? I'm not going to prioritize either of them. And finally, the Vikings. So I do think the Vikings bounce back here. Not a great matchup against the Patriots, but Kirk Cousins, 5'6". He's been up and down, but the positive with the Vikings is they do have a condensed target share. So if you get a game where Kirk Cousins throws 2-3 touchdowns, like, kind of know where the ball is going. So I do have some interest in him at 5'6". More of a tournament-only play, though. Running back, I do like Dalvin Cook in both formats. He's been playing a healthy amount of snaps. Obviously, last week, don't put too much emphasis into it. They got killed, but I expect him to be in that 75% of the snap range. He is involved in the passing game. I think he's a good play in both formats. Madison, just the backup. Again, his touches have been down, so don't really think we have to get to him. Wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, like him a lot for tournaments. He's up and down, but the ceiling is massive with him. Only 8.2K. I think Diggs will be much more popular, but I think Jefferson is a solid pivot off of Diggs. Probably not as high of a floor, but that ceiling is just, as high, maybe even, I think you'd argue higher than Stephon Diggs. It's close. I mean, those two are obviously two of the better wide receivers in the league. So do like the ceiling a lot on Justin Jefferson. I like this price point a good amount on Adam Thielen too. And last week, don't put too much emphasis into it. Normally, he's averaging, 7-8 targets a game, only 4.9K. He's playing a majority of the game. The Vikings just play their skill position players like the entire game. So I do like Thielen on the cheap end. KJ Osborne will work out of the slot. I mean, he's going to probably average around 4 or 5 targets. As a cheap wide receiver, I think he's not a bad play. So, actually a good amount to like here for me on the Minnesota side. And at tight end, I do like Hockenson as well. He's been very, very involved. First couple games with Minnesota, 9 targets. I think he's a good play at the tight end position. Again, Minnesota, if they score, again, Dalvin Cook playing majority of the game, wide receiver, it's Jefferson, it's Thielen, tight end, it's Hockenson, right? It's not like they rotate guys like some teams. So that's the positive here with Minnesota is condensed target share. As far as defense go, we'll quickly talk about it. You guys know my thoughts on defense. You've been watching my content for a while. It's such a high variance position. I hate that's included on DraftKings. I usually try to go to a low-owned defense. I mean, going to be tough to prioritize the Lions defense going up against the Bills, but anything's possible. Any defense can get a pick 6. I mean, Vikings probably going to be a good option there. In the Cowboys, if you have the salary, like Cowboys or Vikings, probably your best bets for defenses, but they're expensive. If you wanted cheap defense, maybe the Patriots, but I don't feel great about that. So I hate talking. It makes me want to throw up. I hate talking about defense. But yeah, guys, so that's going to wrap it up the video. Again, if you have been enjoying the NFL content, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I really do appreciate the support, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.